We have an NFL team coming to town. What's that all about? Also, we're heading up to space, to the moon, they would say. It's sports and space this week. Our episode is brought to you by the letter S. This is the Business Backdrop. Welcome to the Business Backdrop with Orlando Business Journal, sponsored by Edition Financial. My name is Richard Wilbow, editor-in-chief of the Orlando Business Journal, and we have a great episode today talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and what does their move to Orlando mean for Central Florida business. Also, if you haven't missed it, the Artemis is on its way to the moon according to our schedule right now, and we'll talk about what that means for our Space Coast and what it means for the businesses that work in that industry. But first, we always like to take a pulse of our headlines for the week, so let's roll right into those. Our first story, a renovated Windermere home once owned by Jackie Siegel hit the market amid upgrades. The current owners of this home purchased the Windermere Oaks property for $1.23 million in August of 2025, and they've put it back on the market for $2.25 million. As of April 6th, the house is listing as pending on Zillow and Realtor.com, so keep a close eye on that one. Next one up, Discount Grocer plans $4.3 million build-out for a new Lake Nona location. Aldi will open up its first Tavares store in a remodeled Winn-Dixie space later this year. The German grocery chain plans to hire between 15 and 20 associates for the new location. Aldi has announced plans to open more than 180 stores across 31 states by the end of this year, and many of those are Winn-Dixies that are being repurposed. And for you sports fans, Topgolf's Brevard County project is still alive and it's getting bigger. The sports-based attraction increased its plans for a Viera facility to 35,000 square feet, and the Viera company owns the land that the attraction is being built on. In case you're wondering, there's a Dave & Buster's being built nearby just south of the site. And those are some of our top headlines. And now we're going to be taking it to the field and talk about pro football right after these words from our sponsor.
When it comes to meeting your short and long-term saving goals, you need a financial partner focused on helping you, not their bottom line. At Edition Financial, we see the real you. For more than 85 years, we've helped Central Floridians get the most for their hard-earned savings. Compare our saving rates to the big banks, and we think you'll like what you see. And with convenient money management tools and personalized guidance, we make saving easy. Edition Financial, exceptional banking for everyone since 1937.
And for this first segment, we got one for our sports fans. We're talking some pro football. And here to join me is JC Carnahan, staff writer and sports writer for the Orlando Business Journal. Thanks for joining, JC.
Well, it's been a long time. Thank you for inviting me back to the show, Richard.
You know what? We love having you here. And sports, I know sports goes back with you and you love it so much. So this past week, according to when folks are going to be seeing this, we had some big news in town. I'm not going to steal your shine here. What did we hear that's happening in Orlando?
A lot of big news, obviously, for sports fans, as you mentioned there. And yes, we've got in the fall of 2027, we will have a full NFL regular season home schedule taking place downtown Orlando, Camping World Stadium. Can you believe it? It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, temporarily the Orlando Jaguars. No, I'm sure they'll still keep the Jacksonville nickname or a city name. But that's huge news for sports tourism here in Orlando, Central Florida. And it really kind of goes beyond this singular moment of the Jags playing an entire season here. It actually this actually means that brighter days could be on the horizon in terms of all the possibilities that this could attract in the years ahead.
So, you talked a little bit about it already, but what makes this so big? I mean, besides the point that, it's hard, it takes a lot to get an NFL team to even host in another city. So talk a little bit why this is so important.
Well, a couple things that really kind of stand out. I talked to some people who talk about the economic impact. I think that's one that where, it's hard to really kind of sum up what the economic impact means to most people, especially for a lot of us who live here. A lot of us may not feel that, like what is it that we're really getting here? But it's what it is. It's the people that choose Orlando as a destination, that stay in our hotels, that frequent our restaurants, the theme parks, all the businesses that are around here. And I talked to somebody who said that they estimated each regular season home game is a $25 million economic boost for a city.
Wow.
And so you talk about if we have 7, 8, 9 regular season games here in 2027 for the Jaguars, just think about the number of nights, the hotel nights, and then what that means is the taxes that go towards all the things we're able to do with tourism, the money, the bed tax that we accumulate there. Very, very beneficial from that standpoint. But on the flip side, this also lets the rest of the country and the rest of the world see Orlando on a more of a grand stage in terms of what the potential is there for them to be able to host World Cup matches or more international soccer matches, things that people may not really think of on the surface. But now there's opportunities to say, hey, if we can host NFL regular season games here, the sky's the limit of what we can bring here to Orlando.
So like when you were reporting on this, and obviously you were watching it very closely, even before the vote was announced, even before the news was announced, what was it about this news that surprised you the most once it finally dropped? And what are you interested in following next?
Great questions. I think what surprised me most, kind of funny, was how tight-lipped most people were about just how this was going to unfold. The fact that we had been reporting on it for several months, and all indications lined up that this was going to happen. That there's really, Orlando is the best option for this. Lo and behold, it comes to be true. But what really stood out was that the NFL has 32 individual owners, okay? And they got all 32 to vote unanimously to approve this move to Orlando. And what's key about that is Jacksonville coming here to play in the Orlando market kind of infringes on the market for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was just down the road, and there's a portion of this Orlando area that is Tampa Bay's media market, okay? And when you go east Orlando up to Daytona, that's all Jacksonville's media market, okay? Mm-hmm. So for even the Buccaneers owners to recognize the importance of making this, having this made for the the betterment of the entire league, I think that was pretty impressive. And it also speaks to what could happen in the years ahead, maybe 2028, 2029, because Jacksonville Jaguars are playing here because they're undergoing a major $1.4 billion stadium renovation up in Jacksonville. Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also want a new stadium, some stadium renovations over in Tampa. Could this help, potentially bring the Buccaneers to Orlando for an entire season? We'll see how things go with the Jaguars being here. So a lot of groups getting together, helping each other out. That's kind of what really stood out to me the most.
Speaking of the Bucs and that news, and obviously I know that's far earlier than anyone can know full details on. I mean, we still have a year before the Jags play here. Kind of a off the wall question I just popped in my head. Any chance you think that Tampa Bay voted yes so that they can get that Jacksonville yes when their decision comes around, kind of that bartering system? Are we trading here in the NFL?
It wouldn't surprise me. I think one thing when the day after there was a press conference where the owner from the Jags was here in Orlando at the Dr. Phillips Center, and the owner was asked a question like, hey, what if the Bucs owners would have pushed back against it? And he said, but they didn't push back against it. He said he made it a point to say that we all went into that meeting wanting to be on the same page. You're wanting to kind of, hey, let's work this all out and be on the same page and then move forward with it. So if there is a need for the Bucs to get their back scratched, I'm sure it's going to be no problem at all. And it's a smart move, actually. I mean, you don't want to come out of that meeting and say 5 owners voted against it. You want everyone to be on the same page. Right. Like when it's all said and done, I think one of the notable things about the Jaguars playing their season here in 2027 is that they have home games against the Buccaneers, against the Miami Dolphins. Can you imagine Orlando being the center, the epicenter of where these huge NFL matchups are going to be played.
Yep.
Camping World Stadium, in-state battles. It should be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to that Miami Dolphins one. For anybody out there that doesn't know, Richard Bobal is a Miami Dolphins fan through and through. Better or for worse, depending on how you've seen some recent seasons. But we are there, so I appreciate it. Last but not least, JC Carnahan, what other trends in sports are you watching? Doesn't have to be about the Jaguars, just in general. What's happening in our sports landscape that's got your interest piqued?
Well, I hate to bring this one up, but there's still a lot happening with the Orlando Dreamers. The dream for bringing Major League Baseball here to Orlando, and I'm going to be out there to talk to the Dreamers ownership group and to kind of find out what's the latest update in terms of where they are in terms of trying to either entice Major League Baseball to award this city an expansion franchise someday in the future, or to have their arms open for any other franchise that needs a place to call home if things aren't working out in their cities. But also, not to be overlooked, is in the future, what this Jaguars news means for Orlando is we have a potential for potentially hosting World Cup games in the future, soccer, more international soccer games, potentially a Army versus Navy college football game, which is very popular at the end of every college football season, a college football national championship game. These are all types of sporting events that Florida Citrus Sports and the Greater Orlando Sports Commission are pursuing years in advance. They're trying to bring these events here to Orlando, and this type of news with the Jaguars coming here to play at Cape Moore Stadium only benefits those groups as they continue to put out those bids and to kind of continue to let people know that, hey, this is a destination. We know how to host these events, and we're taking all comers at this point.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, between the Jaguars and the Dreamers, everything else, looking forward to see how the sports landscape changes. JC, thanks for joining us. Always appreciate having you on the show.
Always appreciate it. All the best to you. Thank you.
And then we'll be right back with our next segment.
When it comes to meeting your short and long-term saving goals, you need a financial partner focused on helping you, not their bottom line. At Addition Financial, we see the real you. For more than 85 years, we've helped Central Floridians get the most for their hard-earned savings. Compare our saving rates to the big banks, and we think you'll like what you see. And with convenient money management tools and personalized guidance, we make saving easy. Addition Financial, exceptional banking for everyone since 1937.
All right, now we're going to transition from the field to space. NASA had a big mission that launched last week, and we're going to learn more about what that means for us and the Central Florida business community. To join me is Riley Benson, staff writer with the Orlando Business Journal, and our space reporter. Riley, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, Riley, we're going to roll right into it. Can you talk a little bit about what was a big milestone that happened last week in our space industry?
So last week on April 1st, Artemis 2 launched from Cape Canaveral. This is the second launch as part of the Artemis program, which was kind of founded in 2017 with the first Artemis launch happening in 2022. This launch is the first crewed launch of so far. The last one was an uncrewed flight. This one has 4 astronauts going on a 10-day mission around the moon and coming back.
So, a lot of people were talking about this Artemis launch. I mean, social media, Instagram, Reddit is what I go to, the news stations. What made, this mission so, we've seen launches, but what made this one kind of so big and so huge?
This is a big mission as it's part of the Artemis program as a whole is kind of it's NASA's main program that they're doing right now, but it's also part of their plan to get humans back on the moon. There's kind of multiple phases that they're doing right now. Artemis 2 is the crewed one, and then Artemis 3 will kind of be like an docking type of test mission. Mm-hmm. And then by 4 and 5, they're kind of hoping to have humans return to the moon, which this is the first time. This launch specifically, Artemis 2, is the first time any kind of humans have been near the moon in almost 50 years. So this is a huge event for human space travel.
you look at these from a business standpoint and economic impact for the region, looking at Brevard County, how the space sector can capitalize off of rocket launches. What did you hear from your sources with the impact of the return from Artemis?
In conversations I've had with economic experts in the area, this launch is expected to bring $160 million in economic impact to Brevard County and kind of Florida as a whole, with up to expected 400,000 visitors coming to Brevard just to watch the launch itself. So,
wow.
Yeah.
In your coverage of Artemis, there's so much going on, so much excitement. What was the thing that kind of surprised you while you were kind of following it?
I think the thing that surprised me was about a week before the launch happened, NASA announced at a event that they were having in Washington, D.C., that obviously Artemis is part of this bigger plan to get to the moon. And they had announced that they were going to invest $20 billion in of incentives to get people to the moon, as well as building a moon base. They really want to get people to the moon by 2029. Obviously, getting an actual moon base, they said that, it's not going to happen overnight. It'll probably take, at least like 7 years or so. But this is kind of a bigger, wider effort. Like, this is just the beginning of what's next to come for human space travel.
A moon base sounds like just... It's weird for me to think of a moon base, but I know they're taking that seriously. There's actual conversations, high level folks that are talking about moon bases. So Riley, thank you for your time. Last question I have for you is, keeping tabs on space. What are some of the other things related to space in general, the industry that you've been closely following, in your coverage?
I think things right now that are really catching my attention in space is definitely following Blue Origin. Mm-hmm. They're planning an 800,000 square foot facility next to their main campus on Merritt Island, but also they've kind of been lackluster on updates, but New Glenn 3 should be launching.
Oh yeah.
They said early 2026. I feel like we're kind of phasing out of that early 2026, but there's been various talks online about when they're going to be launching this next mission. So I think that would be the next big thing to follow.
Well, that's cool. It's going to be exciting. Well, Riley, thank you for all the insight you shared today. Thank you for all your coverage, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to JC Carnahan and Riley Benson for sharing a little bit about what's happening in both the sports and the space segments of our region. And that's really going to be all for our episode today. So thank you to our sponsor, Addition Financial, and thank you to you for joining us on the Business Backdrop. So please subscribe, rate our show, and tell your friends about the Business Backdrop. And in case you're wondering, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.